So this is August 2013. The first one is titled Pictures of Jesus. Um, July 31st, 2013. This one was at a lady's house. There was a shelf that had a bunch of knickknacks and pictures of Jesus with a blue theme. There was a lamp on it in the house. There was a tomato on the kitchen table. A woman says my mom would like your knickknacks. One side of the house is circular with a window to view the outside. Sometimes it can be a little noisy with the kids cruising with their cars, 12:08 a.m. Okay, so I remember being at this woman's house and it was on the corner, and I remember her mentioning how like the kids like to cruise at night, with their cars or whatever, so it might be kind of a smaller town. And I remember that she had a bunch of Jesus knickknacks in her house, and for whatever reason, the house wasn't. I mean, she didn't have the lights on or anything, so it was kind of dark in there. And but I do remember seeing like a tomato on the kitchen table, like, and I could see it from like the light coming from the kitchen, like there's a small light in there. Um, yeah, so she said that it can be a little noisy because of the kids cruising. Okay, so the next one is difference in opinion, and this is July of 2013. I was sitting down at a table and someone was sitting across from me. My skin on my arms were clear and smooth, and then suddenly a worm started to wiggle out of my skin. I mentioned my brother was at fault. Then, as I was lying in bed, I held my body close to myself, like in a womb or out of fear. Some man at an office accused a man of lying. Then a man was sitting at a table and his arms were smooth and no marks from a fight. On the wall of the office was an art project. One part of the piece was going up and then down. That was the funny part. Something about waiting till things blow over. Okay, so what I remember about this dream was, okay, that there was something that was like wiggling out like right here, like a worm was coming out of my, like right this part, right? And so this is in 2013, and many years later I did have like something right here. It was a black little thing, and they had to like remove it. It didn't hurt or anything, but they had to remove it. I'm not even for sure what it was. But so that kind of did come true. I don't know why they were saying my brother was at fault or whatever. And so whatever, some guy, this is at a medical office, and some guy accused some other guy at the medical office of lying, and I'm not for sure what the lie was about. Um, it was my birthday, and I was going to have a little party. I wasn't going to call in sick or complete my responsibilities. Not complete my responsibilities. This woman and I were planning to do something possibly out to eat and then get some food for the party later. Then I really wanted this one girl to come to my party, but she was like to have to go. She was like, I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. She didn't want to go and decided to go. Okay. So, so I think at the time it was my friend's party. He was having a birthday party, and I think he wanted me to come. And I don't know what this was about. Something about, somebody not wanting to call in sick or, not be responsible. So I think that someone who was going to go to the birthday party didn't want to, like, have it interfere with work. So I think for the party he was going to have, I don't know, get some food or something. I mean, this is like 2013, so this is quite a while ago. So this one's pretty simple. The block, August 4th, 2013. I was on a bus going to downtown. There was some kind of event going on, so roads were blocked off. So all I remember this is that I was on a bus and I was going to downtown, and there was something going on in the downtown, that there was something, it was blocked off. So I think it was symbolic. This took place on the 5th, so there was some kind of like block. And so the next one is I got it wrong. I was planning to go visit my oldest niece and meet her daughter for the first time. I haven't seen her in a really long time. Then these words I heard in my dream, I got it wrong. It was Colorado, not California. Get the hell out of there. Okay, so, yeah, so I do remember this dream. Sometimes I've had dreams in which, um, I will hear in the dream someone say something, and I do believe it's God, most of the time or whatever, but it's kind of rare that that happens. But, so anyway, so whatever, I got it wrong. I was supposed to go to Colorado, not California, according to the dream. And so I do have a niece that I did not see for a very long time, like 20 years. And I never, at this time, I never met her only daughter. I did meet her only daughter this year, and it's 2022. And so I did meet her many years later. Um, so whatever, I got it, or something was wrong, and then something about get the hell out of there. That is what I heard in the dream. And I've even had my aunt who has passed on say these words to me, like over the phone, just years later, get the hell out of there. So anyway, of course, that was a dream. The dream happened before, and then my aunt said that later. So anyway, that's the end of that dream. And so the next dream is a little bit of everything. I'm trying to time these for like a half an hour just so I can get it done and out of the way. This is like 12 years of documented dreams. Okay, this guy who likes to ride motorcycles was planning to go to California. At night, he checked the electrical outlet switch in his kitchen. In a meeting, most of the women raised their hands in response to the speaker's question. Even though I wasn't present in the classroom, I knew this included me. There was a man sitting in his office who didn't say anything to me. He was trying to cause trouble for me, so I walked out of his office. There was a blonde-haired woman who had two small boys to take care of at home. She was somewhat dependent on her boyfriend for their finances, but she still had a job. I remember thinking about how I had to memorize part of my school books for my classes in college. Okay, so I remember being in a meeting. I don't know what this was about. But there was like a group of people there, and for whatever reason, somebody asked the question. I don't remember what the question was. And most of the people raised their hand. And for whatever reason, I didn't want to raise my hand. I'm not sure. Um, it says, well, I knew this included me. So what was going on is there was in the dream, there was a blonde-haired woman who I think was like a medical professional, and her boss or someone that she knew was trying to cause trouble for someone. I think the trouble was for me, right? In the dream and possibly real life. So she got out of there. She didn't agree with what this man was planning to do, and I don't know. I meant what this was all about. I just knew that she was against what he was going to do, and she was dependent on, she had like two children, two boys or whatever, and she was dependent on her boyfriend for their finances. So, I don't know if that was true or not, but that's what it says in the dream. So I think that there was something going on with possibly my memory, because it says right here, I remember thinking about how I had to memorize part of my school books for my classes in college. Okay, so I think that the issue with this guy and this medical professional, I think it was something with memory, because I do have issues with memory, and so that's all I can think it was about. Renting a room. August 2013, I was walking around with one of my cousins. I went to this one house where they were renting rooms from $350. I told the woman who, I don't know, a studio, I could pay $400. I told my mom she shouldn't give up her place, but I guess she was lonely. Okay, so I remember this in which I was walking around with one of my cousins, and I was like, it was kind of in the Lake Tahoe area, because that's what I remember in the dream. And so I was like, I think I was saying, oh, well, I can only afford like $350 or whatever. But there was like a studio. I must have just been a room for $400. And so whatever, I think I gave up my place without having anything lined up, which has happened like right now, and it's 2022. And and I don't like doing that. But sometimes situations come up, and medical or whatever. But anyway, so whatever, it says that I guess she was lonely. My mom was lonely. She was lonely in general. She's passed on many years now. But that's what the dream was says or whatever. Kayaking. I was at a lake in a single kayak. I was a little afraid of how close the water came to the edges of the kayak. I saw another Mexican American guy who was smiling as he was in his kayak. Then in my dream, someone mentioned to a guy that he wasn't bad looking and should be able to find a partner. I then was at an old friend of mine's house, and she had a bunch of junk food in the front room. She was planning to go to college in Virginia. Okay, so yeah, I remember this dream. I was like, the only time that I've ever been in a kayak was like a long time ago. Well, the first time when I was 17, I remember this because it was up at the Boundary Waters. And I remember how close that the water came to the kayak. It was just so right there, not like a canoe. And that kind of frightened me a little bit. So I remember that. So, but in this dream, I was kayaking, and there was this Mexican guy who liked me or whatever. And I told him, said, well, you're a handsome man. I mean, he was younger. And I said, you should be able to, find, a girlfriend. And then for whatever reason, I was at an old friend's house, and she had a bunch of junk food. I don't know why. The last time I saw her was maybe about 3 years ago, and we hadn't seen each other in a very long time. And she lost like 50 pounds. So it was kind of strange that she was in the dream she'd be eating, she had a bunch of junk food. But anyway, it's just a dream, right? So maybe, she changed her ways or whatever, but, she lost 50 pounds, so good for her. So she was planning to go to college in Virginia. So that was kind of cool in the dream. My friend has never talked about Virginia that I know of. I mean, I haven't seen her. I saw her about 3 years ago. Before that, I was like 10. And so anyway, that's kind of what she told me in the dream anyway. Blonde woman. This dream isn't even worth mentioning, but since I include everything in my dreams, all I saw in this particular dream was someone was sitting in the back seat of a car, and the driver was a long blonde-haired woman. Okay, yeah, I vaguely remember this. So I think it was a little chilly, I'm not sure, but I was sitting like right behind her, and I don't know who the woman was, or I can't remember who it was now, but she was driving me somewhere. Over a year. I saw some woman from my past sitting at her desk in her office. She was thinking that she had not seen me in over a year. Okay, well, I don't remember this dream. Sometimes that happens. Blue app. I was at this place where there was a phone connected to the wall. No one wanted to use the phone, so it was returned. Arizona. I recalled a dream that I had where my aunt and someone else was sitting in a room. Can't remember when had this dream. This girl was trying to help me and offered a blue application that was supposed to be returned to her, the next day. I did not return the application. Then I was walking on the grass of a field. I saw some wrapper on the grass and picked it up. Okay, yeah, so I don't know. This was kind of weird. It was a phone. I don't know where I was at, but the phone was, it was like one of those old phones. Well, old to some people. Well, it was a phone that was connected to the wall, and I don't know if I had a cord or not. I don't remember. So some girl was trying to help me. And for whatever reason, I think it was a blue application. I think it was for an apartment. And for whatever reason, I didn't return it back. So I'm not for sure why I would do that or what was going on in the dream. Maybe I didn't like the place. There might have been, all kinds of things. There could have been, issues with transportation, medical. It could have been all kinds of things. But I don't know why I didn't return it in the dream. I don't know. So, okay, it says I was walking on the grass of a field. So, to me, that's the Pacific Northwest. There's like a park out there that's in the Capitol Hill that I used to walk barefoot over there at times or whatever, not all the time. So it says right here, I saw some wrapper on the grass and picked it up. Okay, so to me, that is symbolic, picked up, that whatever situation was going on, somebody picked up, like the medical expenses, the picked up, I got the apartment or something, anything that is picked up, something is, somebody or something is picking up the expense, giving me an apartment or something. That's what it usually means in a dream anyway. The coax. The nurse's husband wanted to relocate with her to Boston. I mentioned how my cousins used to coax their husbands to move back and forth to Colorado and the Midwest. I questioned why I was still having dreams about these same people. Then I went to an apartment complex with maybe my brother and his friend or a couple of guys to look at an apartment for around $450. Something about harassment. Okay, so yeah, I just think that, okay, there was a time in which I saw this one medical profession, and she and her husband, I don't know if they grew up in Boston or whatever, but they were in Boston for schooling. And I think that, so in the dream, both of them or whatever, her sounds like her husband or whatever, wanted to relocate back to Boston. So I remember thinking that my cousin, and her husband in real life, they used to go back and forth to the Midwest, to Colorado, back and forth, many years. They don't really do that anymore because they're older, but they used to do that quite a bit. And then I remember thinking in the dream, why am I still having dreams about these people? I don't think I was in contact with any of these people at the time. So there was something about an apartment for $450. This was 2013. So, and I don't remember going to the apartment. And I think that my brother, it was my youngest brother. Praying for me. There is a minister who is sitting at a chair and praying for me. I can't hear the words she is speaking. Then I applied for a job and show up with a couple of other students. I disagreed with the manager's comment, even though he was only kidding. Then a couple of students were cleaning up a house and the walls were white. One girl ripped off her boyfriend to get back at him. I agreed with her, but I am not like that. So, yeah, I remember some minister was praying for me. I'm not for sure who it was. But the manager was making a comment and he was only kidding. So whatever, this one student was pissed off at her boyfriend, so she ripped him off or something. And I said, well, I'm not like that. I'm not really like a vengeful person like that. Ants. A little boy was removed from a room because he was surrounded by an army of ants. I put him in a different room. There was a group of people standing outside near a train track. My valuables were held from me on my trip and was hoping to receive them back on return trip. This tall, blonde-haired woman was interested in subletting to me. She didn't know when my lease ended. We both each had to pay a certain amount, 6. I tried to write something but was distracted by my brother, so he left. The form got wet. The man was looking through a pile of mail as he sat on the floor. Trust Pyra. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know what was going on with this little boy. These ants, or whether there were some ants, so the boy was removed. Yeah, and I don't remember some of these things. I don't remember. And I remember like the pile of mail that was on the floor. I don't remember most of this dream. Country folk. When I was at a small town, I went inside a building there was a long table where people were sitting. I thought that I would fit in there, but a girl disagreed. I liked this girl as a friend. I felt that if I lived in a small town, that I would be able to walk a mile to transportation or dollar ride. Then there was a video clip of country folk doing a little song and dance. Okay, so I think I know what apartment or where this was at in the dream. It was in the Pacific Northwest. But here I'm thinking that I was, I thought I would fit in, but this woman who worked there said, well, no, you don't fit in, or you wouldn't fit in here. So I think the video clip was like of my friend doing a little song and dance. Old friend. I was fooled by a woman who reminded me of an old friend, but it wasn't. I went up to her and started a friendly conversation, and she hid her face a little bit. I wanted to talk to her about my concerns about going to Canada, and that I was afraid because it was a different country. I questioned her regarding her address in 2001 and her best friend. She mentioned a couple of people as her best friend, but her first answer should be Ruth. She wasn't my old friend, but knew of her. So this was kind of weird in the dream, because there was a woman who reminded me of my old friend. It wasn't my old friend, but it was her friend. So I went up to her and started having a conversation with her, thinking it was my old friend, and it wasn't. It was my old friend's friend. And I don't know why she hid her face a little bit, and I don't know why I would be talking about going to Canada. And yes, I would be afraid because it's a different country. So yeah, I don't know. This was kind of weird in the dream. High school friends. I was sitting at a table with some high school friends. At first, I was sitting next to one friend, and then another friend wanted me to come sit next to her, so I did. Then an Asian woman sat next to her. She got my job. There was some serious arguing going on within the people in the group that I didn't witness. I thought we should all try to get along and agreed to take a vacation for a certain state. I thought of Florida but didn't mention it. Someone was going to drop me off and walk with me. Okay, so here we go again. I remember this dream really well. I was sitting at a table with one friend. And then another friend said, hey, come over here, come sit by me. And so I did. So there was something going on in which an Asian woman got my job. So what else is new, But there was some serious arguing going on about, it was kind of like behind the scenes. And I think they wanted to give me a job, or someone did, and there was arguing. And for whatever reason, I don't know why they wanted to go on vacation. I don't know what that had to do with anything. So then it says whatever, someone's going to drop me off probably in the middle of nowhere and walk with me. So that's kind of what happened in the dream. Following the pack. Most of the city was riding around on bikes. I rode my bike across a bridge to a different city. The bike came too close to the edge of the bridge, and I got scared because there was no wall to protect myself from riding off the bridge. I wanted to make it all in an all-day bike trip. Then two women, one being jealous, began arguing. I wasn't worried and stood up for myself. Then an Asian woman wanted me to try a delicacy, turtle's feet. I declined and stated I would try it later. So I kind of remember, this dream as well. I think it was kind of a continuation of the last dream, a little bit. But whatever, I was in a city where there was a lot of people who rode bikes, and I'm thinking of Portland at the time. And I don't know, it could have been any other city. I know that there's some city that it is kind of in Michigan that it's only bikes only. You can't have a car there. But I didn't know about this when I had this dream. So I think that they were trying to recommend a place to go. And so whatever, I don't know turtle's feet, it could just be my feet because of the diabetes. I wasn't diabetic at the time. Um, but I think that they were, the Asian woman and this other woman were trying to help me. The light. Someone opened the door to a dark room and flashed a huge flashlight into the room. Then, as I was awakening from this dream, I kept my eyes closed as I felt the light hit my eyelids, and then I opened my eyes. There was some kid who was concerned about his dad's approval, something about 3 months. Yeah, I remember this dream. I don't know why, and it's kind of strange that someone would flash a huge flashlight into a dark room that I was in. But I think I just kind of pretended I was asleep. That's what it sounds like. New York or Los Angeles? I was deciding on taking a trip to either New York or Los Angeles. I was standing in line for the bus, and there was a young couple in front of me. The bus left close to midnight, $39, a 24-hour trip. When I arrived at my location, some people told me to turn left. I went to a hotel for men only and then continued walking. I wanted to get to the tallest high rise, which was surrounded by highways. It didn't look like New York. Okay, so I do remember this dream in which there was two people, a couple in front of me, younger couple, who we were going to the same destination. And in the dream, I wanted to go to either New York or Los Angeles. I think I wanted to go to New York. I meant to me, I think it was almost like a mixture of both of them, because there was a hotel for men only, and I think that at the time I was thinking of New York in the dream, but then all the highways would be Los Angeles. So, because it didn't look like New York at all, from what I remember, it was like a smaller town. There wasn't even, or not a smaller city. There wasn't like, it wasn't New York, New York like Manhattan. There wasn't any high rises or skyscrapers or any of that. The offer. I was helping my mom move her bed to a different part of the room. Then I took a needle out of the blanket. They are treating her lesser and offered her a year's lease. We were thinking about getting a 2-bedroom and splitting the rent for $400 each, a little expensive. I walked into an empty room. My uncle worked the popcorn machine, said that since I didn't know how to do it, I was assigned something else. On the computer. This guy was working on the computer in the living room while the rest of the place was dark. He was taking his time of getting photos to me of his place. He just started working and showed me his check stubs. I was lying on the couch, and since I got tired of waiting, I went to the upstairs room, which was dark. We both once lived in Florida. I offered this short, plump woman a can of Diet Pepsi, but she declined. 1419, 1419, or 14th through the 19th.